So in this video, we will tackle 6 different GDPR cases. So for the first one is the British Airways. So what is the case all about? The British Airways case revolves around a cyber attack in June 2018 that exposed personal and financial data of around 500,000 customers. These highlighted lapses in data security and adherence to GDPR requirements. What are the facts of the case? First one is that a cyber attack redirected British Airways website visitors to a fraudulent page. Customer information, including personal and financial details, was compromised. Approximately 500,000 customers were affected. The UK Information Commissioner's Office, or the ICO, investigated the incident under GDPR. What are the issues in this case? So, first one is that the failure to protect customer data through adequate security measures. Violation of the GDPR Article 32, which mandates appropriate technical and organizational measures to secure personal data. Then the insufficient mechanisms to detect the breach promptly. What is the ruling of the EU court? So the ICO imposed a fine of 204.6 million euros, initially proposed at 183 million euros, later reduced. British Airways was found non-compliant with GDPR's data protection requirements, particularly concerning data security and breach response. So, what are my takeaways or learnings from this case? First one is that organizations must implement robust cybersecurity practices to protect customer data. We need quick detection and mitigation are crucial for minimizing the impact of a data breach. Companies should ensure clear communication with customers regarding data use and breaches. And adhering to GDPR is not optional. Violations can lead to significant financial and reputational damage. Next case is about the Marriott International Hotel. So what is the case all about? So hackers compromise sensitive personal data, including credit card and passport information, of over 300 million customers. With more than 30 million being EU residents, the breach was attributed to insufficient security measures. So what are the facts of the case? The breach involved Marriott Starwood guest reservation database. Sensitive data such as payment and passport information was exposed. The breach affected over 300 million people globally. So what are the issues in the case? First issue is that the lack of adequate safeguards to protect sensitive customer data. Second is the violation of GDPR's requirements for ensuring data security and minimizing risk. So what is the ruling of the EU court? Marriott was fined 110.3 million euros by the ICO for GDPR non-compliance. The ruling emphasized accountability for ensuring data security. So my takeaways or learnings from this case is that regular audits are crucial for identifying vulnerabilities in legacy systems. Data security must be a priority for customer-centric services. Ensure compliance with GDPR, particularly for sensitive personal data. Third case is from Google. So, what is the case all about? Google was penalized for lacking transparency and making it difficult for users to access data processing information, especially regarding targeted advertising. What are the facts of the case? So, Google failed to provide clear information about data used for ads. Consent mechanisms for targeted advertising were deemed insufficient. So the issues in this case is that the violation of GDPR Article 13, which requires the transparency about data processing, and also the lack of valid consent under GDPR Article 6. So the ruling of the EU court that Google was fined 50 million euros for GDPR violations related to transparency and consent. So the takeaways from this case is that transparency builds user trust and ensures compliance with GDPR. Consent mechanisms should be clear, explicit, and easily accessible. Companies must regularly review their data policies. Fourth case is the Austrian Post. So what is the case all about? Austrian Post was fined for unlawfully selling customer data, including sensitive information like political affiliations without proper consent. So the facts of the case is that the Austrian Post sold customer data to marketing companies. Data included sensitive political preferences. The issues of the case that the breach of GDPR's principles regarding consent and sensitive data, and the second one is the unauthorized processing of political preferences without clear justification. So what is the ruling of the EU court? Austrian Post was fined 18.5 million euros for non-compliance with GDPR. My takeaways from this case that the data sales must comply with GDPR, especially for sensitive categories. Organizations must ensure explicit consent for data processing. Transparency and ethical practices in data handling are so essential. Fifth case from the Deutsche Wohnen SE. So what is the case all about? Deutsche Wohnen SE, a real estate company, stored tenants' personal data longer than necessary, violating the GDPR's data retention policies. So what are the facts of the case? Tenant data, tenant data, including financial and personal details, was retained without justification. GDPR mandates periodic reviews and deletion of unnecessary data. So the issues of the case that the violation of GDPR Article 5, which enforces data minimization and storage limitation, failure to justify prolonged data retention. That is the ruling of the EU court. Dutch one and SE was fined 14.5 million euros for the data retention violations. My takeaways from this case that we need to implement regular data audits to minimize data retention, ensure storage practices aligned with the GDPR requirements, define clear retention policies for sensitive information. The last case is from the One and One Telecom GmbH. So what is the case all about? The company faced penalties for inadequate security measures, allowing access to customer data with minimal verifications. So what are the facts of the case? Call center operators provided customer details without rigorous identity checks. GDPR mandates appropriate measures to secure personal data. So the issues in this case that the breach of GDPR Article 32 emphasizing the data security and also the inadequate identity verification measures. The ruling of the EU court is that the One and One Telecom GmbH was fined 9.5 million euros for insufficient data protection mechanisms. Though my takeaways from this case that companies need to invest in robust authentication processes to prevent unauthorized access. Security measures should prioritize user privacy and data protection. Regularly update protocols to comply with evolving regulations. So that's are the six GDPR cases. Thank you.